Man, I've been so busy. I I've been working on this script for like 2 weeks, and I just think, I mean, I just think that this book, like I already like this book. Hold on. I already knew a lot about diet like before reading this, right? This book taught me like I knew like 2 times more after reading this book, and I already knew like a lot. It's like this book is just crazy. It, I'd say it's one of the best books for diet, honestly. Like I knew a lot I knew a lot about diet before this book, but I didn't realize how much I would learn after reading this. It's like crazy. So anyway, I have been working on this script for like 2 weeks, and I just think that this video that I'm going to put together for you here, I'm going to speak to you here, I think that you should be grateful, because there's this, actually, this is like a cookbook, so it's actually a cookbook, but it's the beginning of it has more of like a nutrient like information and stuff. So it's like the beginning of it is like a book. The first like 70 pages is like kind of like a book, except the rest is like a cookbook. So you can check it out. You can like buy it or whatever. Go to the library if you have like a membership or something. But yeah, this book was made in like 1999. My mom showed it to me. That's why I started reading it. I didn't like pick it out. My mom showed it, and she was like, "Yo, you're into diet, right? This book, and stuff." She thought I'd be like interested in it. And when I saw it, I thought it was gonna be like some book saying, just like the modern things, like just like stuff I already knew and everything. But I wasn't expecting what to actually get out of this book, and it really did help me a lot, and it really did actually teach me a lot. Even before when I knew a lot of like diet stuff, this taught me so much. It's crazy. So this book basically challenges everything that's like politically correct, like nutrition. It says a cookbook that challenges politically correct nutrition and the diet dictocrats. So it just just challenges all the dumbass nutrition, the food pyramid, and all that shit, just so people can get fatter for profit. Freaking stupid ass food pyramid. Like, it basically just challenges all that, all the stupid shit, and then it like tells you actually like what the fuck's right. So it's not like one of those like old timey books that's like, oh, saturated fats and shit, they're bad or something. So I mean, clearly the fucking food pyramid doesn't work, and clearly it's actually completely the opposite, because it's completely like the opposite of what I swear to God, I literally eat almost the opposite of the food pyramid. You know how it goes grains, like bread and grains and pasta and rice at the bottom? That's the most. Then it's like fruits and vegetables. Then it's what is it, like nuts and maybe like eggs or something. Then like dairy and egg, or I don't know, nuts and something. Nuts basically and seeds and stuff. Like eggs and dairy and stuff, and then meat, and then like sweets and fats at the top. I literally eat fats and meats, except sweets. Okay, so the sweets aren't on there, but I basically like, besides the sweets, I basically eat the opposite of the food pyramid. For me, it's fats and meat on the bottom, then dairy and eggs here, and then, like nuts, nut butters and stuff here, fruits and vegetables, and I eat a little bit of grains. I literally eat I swear to God, I literally eat the opposite of the food pyramid, except for the sweets. It's crazy. It does not fucking work. And everyone's fat anyway, so, like, so, clearly if you look at the data and everything, and if you just look around you anyway, it shows that as soon as the food pyramid was introduced, obesity on the rise, type 2 diabetes on the rise, metabolic syndrome, whoa, hypertension, whoa. It's like, bro, what is all this? You're telling me that we are obese because we are not following the food pyramid. And then as soon as the food pyramid is introduced, obesity, that doesn't really make sense, does it? There's very clear positive correlation with the food pyramid being introduced and all these modern diseases being like shot up, because it doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. It's just bullshit. It's bullshit, honestly. There's no. Well, first of all, there's zero evidence that it works, and second of all, it was made by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, not the U.S. Department of Health. So, there you go, profit. Also, third point is that, I mean, just look. This was introduced, 30 years ago? Yeah, 31 years ago. And in the U.S. And there's more obesity now than then. So if everyone's following the food pyramid, how the fuck are we obese? Does it make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense. It really, how can you just think, how does that comprehend in your brain? Oh yeah, food pyramid. Oh yeah, 400 grams of carbs a day. It just doesn't make, it really doesn't make any sense at all. It's the hunter-gatherers brought home, what did they bring home for dinner? Some cupcakes with some fried chicken, fried in canola oil and grapeseed oil and all this bullshit. Did they bring fried chicken in the seed oils? And the big plate of veggies, and the big plate of freaking cookies, and they brought home a deer that they then put over the fire and ate the meat. They brought home a deer. A full deer. And then they cut it up and ate it. They ate almost 90% meat. They ate 90% meat. They didn't add a bunch of shit to it. They didn't, waste their time trying to get other food. They ate meat because that's what they were supposed to do. That's what the instinct was. To kill the animal and eat its meat. Not to eat freaking lettuce. Or freaking eat. Oh, I gotta bake my bread. Did bread exist back in that age? Did bread exist? No. They were 100 times healthier than us. Than this generation. They were 100 times healthier than us. Did freaking bread exist? Did candy or all this cupcakes and shit exist? I'm saying, like, stupid food ass pyramid. Fucking. So, this book kind of has a little, like, some sciencey kind of terms, complicated, like, terms, like, let me see if I can find, actually. I'm trying to find a complicated word here. How long will this take? Hold on. They have been causing damage in... Wait a... They have been characterized as marauders in the body, and they attack cell membranes and red blood cells, causing damage in DNA, RNA strands that can trigger mutations in tissue, blood vessels, and skin. Free radical damage, like... You probably don't understand that shit, so I'll just explain it to you, because I understand those types of terms, because I've been studying it for a while, and then I can synthesize it down into this video for you, that you can watch and understand very easily. Well, I mean, I'm not like a super sciencey guy that's like explaining it in easy terms. I don't like. I'm just a normal guy. Like, I don't study like science and a bunch of shit, and like sciencey stuff. But I just understand more diet terms just because I've been studying the diet part of it, and then these words just come up anywhere, like everywhere. So I just naturally learned them just because I studied diet so much, and they just come up everywhere in the topic. So I'll just explain it to you. Yeah, the amount of times I've talked about fats and cholesterol and like the controversy on this shit, for the amount of times I've talked about that shit. And I still feel like after reading this book, I knew twice what I did previously on this topic. Fats and cholesterol. I thought I was like 10 times more educated on this topic than everyone else. Which, maybe I was, actually. But I felt like I knew twice as much by the end of this, even though I knew like a ton already. So it's just crazy how much information and stuff in this book. Anyway, let's get into it, because it's going to be a long one with 10 different chapters that would probably come up. Chapter 1, fats. This chapter gave me a lot of shit to know about this, and I already knew most of this, but it actually like gave me the reason and like the why behind it. Like, it just convinced me a lot more. Like, it convinced me even more of my point. So the first thing this chapter talks about basically is just how fats are important for cell membrane structure and carrying fat-soluble vitamins and making hormones and making you full longer and energy and stuff. But where it really starts is when it starts to talk about how politically correct, political whatever nutrition basically demonize saturated fats and cholesterol as this monster. Anyway, I've talked about this before, but if you don't know. Also, how the lipid hypothesis, which was some study in 1960 or some shit, is basically backed by a bunch of retards and just want to profit and kept trying to push that saturated fats cause heart disease and you should consume vegetable oils because polyunsaturated fatty just shut the fuck up. They were just backed by a bunch of retards that were faking everything. So basically the first page talks about how there's some dumbass in the 1960, whatever the fuck. There was a major pusher of low fat diet, and cholesterol and saturated fats are super bad and everything, low fat diet, no fat diet. which is like kind of like the lipid hypothesis. And that guy essentially killed himself because he was so depressed and he never had energy, and his life sucked, his mental health sucked, because he ate a low-fat diet. He killed himself because he ate a low-fat diet, and he pushed it out to the world. He pushed out that message that you should eat a low-fat diet, which later led to him killing himself. Does that sound like a good diet to you? So these assholes try to push, seed oils and vegetable oils and are so healthy, and because the polyunsaturated, and you should be on a low-fat diet and drink skim milk. Like, they're pushing this very, very unhealthy way of living. So just so that they profit, because vegetable oils are cheaper, and it's cheaper to do non-fat and low-fat shit. They're pushing this diet for profit. These assholes are ruining your diet and your health and basically your life for profit. These guys that have told you these guys that know better, they told you that you should be on a low-fat diet, you should be on a non-fat diet, you should drink skim milk, you should do all this bullshit, you should eat less butter and less fat. It's like, they're literally, the people that know better are literally ruining your health for profit. You're literally ruining your life for profit. Because your health is, like, essentially your life. Because if you have bad health, you live less, and, you know what I mean. So, the second thing this chapter explains is that how there were, like, many studies done trying to show that, like, saturated fats are so bad for you, they cause cancer, and when they literally knew the opposite was true. The author talks about, so the polyunsaturated and low-fat and non-fat diets to suck and show worse results. But the guys that wanted the opposite results, the guys that wanted the saturated fats to be bad, they wanted the guys who consumed higher cholesterol to have worse health, that higher dietary cholesterol to have worse health. And everything, like, had, like, twice the deaths in the polyunsaturated group. And the study showed saturated fats to literally, like, have a healthier effect. And they still pushed unsaturated message. So, they're lying to the world. Actually, just the West, really, like, the West. Just this stupid at the West of the world. Because everywhere else is probably, like, they have pretty good diet, so. Well, not always, but you know what I mean, right? The West. They're pushing it in the West, pushing the high carb, high grain, the high sugar diets, because saturated fats are so bad for you, and they cause cancer, when they literally knew the opposite was true, and they were just, like, pushing the message for profit, essentially. So the author talks about how the Japanese, the longest living nation, although they don't consume a lot of dairy fats, they still eat a lot of animal fats and meats and butter, and they love for shellfish and fish broth and everything. They probably consume more saturated fats than us. And cholesterol. Even though we have the highest rate of all these diseases and the third highest in obesity and everything, so it's all bullshit. clearly there's something wrong with the food pyramid and all this advice they're giving you, because it's like the propaganda in the press or whatever, the politics, all this political stuff. We don't like to consider ourselves with like political shit, and we don't like to consider ourselves like a political people. Like we don't care about like politics, do we? Like you probably don't care about politics. Like, let's be honest. Most likely, if you're watching and like kind of this far a little bit, then you had some relation to me a little bit, like some sort of like, oh, he's cool or whatever. We probably don't like politics, okay? We probably don't give a fuck about politics. So, these political, but the problem is that they're saying, saturated fats and cholesterol is bad, and then they're giving that the message to people that do follow politics, and then they give that message to, it's just like a chain, and then it eventually reaches you. So even if you don't like politics, like it still reaches, the message reaches you. So I mean, that's bullshit. Now the author actually goes into what fatty acids actually are. Actually, wait, sorry. Let me actually give some like sources. So basically, this book is called Nourishing Traditions. Anyway, it's by Sally Fallon, and she got a lot of this information from some guy called Weston A. Price. I don't know who the fuck that is, but anyway, she got most of her information from like that guy, and she has like a website called like the Weston A. Price Foundation. So just go check those out. They have some valuable shit in it. So, what fatty acids actually are? Lipids in general are just a class of like organic substances that aren't soluble in water. Fatty acids are mostly in the form of triglycerides in our body, which is 3 carbon chains all attached to a glycerol molecule. So basically, there's like a glycerol molecule right here, and then there's like 3 like carbon chains attached to it, which is called a triglyceride. Elevated triglycerides in our body is correlated with heart disease, but the triglycerides in our body mostly actually come from simple sugars, not protected by fiber. So, just sugar. So, elevated triglycerides has nothing to do with the high fat content of your food, like your high dietary fat content. So, it has nothing to fucking do with that. The triglycerides in our body, meaning our like belly fat and everything, don't even really come from dietary fats. They don't even come from dietary fats. They literally just come from refined carbs. That's why we're all fat, because we're eating refined carbs like sugar and white flour. We're eating sugar and white flour. That's literally been shown to be the reason we have elevated triglycerides, meaning you're fat or you have some problems with your triglycerides. That's because of carbs. It's not even because of fat. And then they're telling you, oh, you should eat less fat because less triglycerides, not elevated triglycerides. No, bro, that's carbs doing that. It's not. Oh, Jesus Christ. So, okay. Fatty acids are classified by the following. Saturated. So saturated fatty acid, when fatty acids are like saturated, that means all so I talked about the glycerol molecule and the carbon chains. This means all the carbon chains are occupied by like a hydrogen atom. So basically the chains are all straight. So the glycerol molecule and all the chains are straight and like compact. So they're much more difficult to go rancid than unsaturated fats, just because of their high stability. And these fatty acids are mostly high in animal fats, but also in tropical oils, especially coconut oil. So your body can also make these from carbohydrates. Now, monounsaturated fatty acids. When fatty acids are monounsaturated, they have one double bond. Okay, so double bond. So here's the glycerol molecule. Here's the carbon chains. Now, one of these carbon two of these carbon atoms in this carbon chain don't have a hydrogen attached to them up here. So then there forms a double bond where the carbons are actually attached to themselves through a double bond. And essentially, it just bends the carbon chain. When it's monounsaturated, there's only one of these like bends or kinks or whatever. So that means it's less packed. So basically, it's just there's one of these bends and then all the other ones are straight. So that's what monounsaturated is. Anyway, monounsaturated fatty acids, they lack 2 hydrogen atoms, right? And your body can make these from saturated fats and also can be consumed in the diet as well. These fats have a bend in the carbon chain, so they're less stable and also less like compact than saturated fats. So they're typically liquid at room temperature. But if you put real monounsaturated fatty acids in the fridge, they should become like semi-solid or even solid. So if they don't, then it's probably like some fake shit. So that's the thing with olive oil that you can do a test with, because most olive oil is actually fake. So your body can make these monounsaturated fats from saturated fats, and just they tend to be still can go they're not as stable as saturated fats, but they're still pretty stable. They're still pretty stable. Like, they're still pretty stable. And since they only have one bend, they are like solid in the fridge. They're stable, so they are very common use in cooking. So like peanut oil, sesame oil, olive oil, very common use in cooking because they don't go rancid as easily, and they're good. So they're so commonly used in cooking because they don't go rancid as easy, and also they're said to be like good, even to the politically whatevers. So the most common monounsaturated fatty acid is oleic acid, which is the main component of olive oil, as well as oils of avocado, almond, peanut, pecan, cashews. So it's not common for nuts to be in oil form. Maybe you'll see peanut or almond oil. But peanut oil, like nut oils, actually aren't like the healthiest on their own, so we should avoid it. We should avoid like nut oils, like peanut oil, almond oil, walnut oil, or whatever these are. Anyway, we should avoid the nut oils, even though they're monounsaturated. So monounsaturated, pretty good. You can use olive oil here or there. Make sure it's real olive oil, because it's very common to be fake. Make sure it's real olive oil, and you can use like olive oil, on your, I don't know, whatever, salad or whatever the fuck you're eating. Anyway, polyunsaturated fatty acids they contain 2 or more. So I talked about the double bond being like a bend where there's 2 hydrogen atoms missing. Polyunsaturated is when there's two or more of these double bonds, like these kinks, these bends in the carbon chains. They're like everywhere. So polyunsaturated is when they lack 4 or more hydrogen atoms and contain 2 or more double bonds. The 2 most common polyunsaturated fatty acids found in our food are double unsaturated linoleic acid with 2 double bonds and triple unsaturated linoleic with 3 double bonds. They're commonly known for your brain's sake. Omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. So linoleic acid is omega-6. Linolenic acid is omega-3. So the omega number just indicates where the first double bond occurs on the carbon chain, the amount of carbon atoms that it takes to go to the double bond, the first double bond. Your body cannot make these linoleic and linolenic. Hence, they're called essential fatty acids. We can only get them from the food we eat. They're the only thing we have to eat. And since polyunsaturated fatty acids have multiple kinks or bends and turns in the carbon chain, they're very unstable. They're packed together very loosely, so they're very unstable. They go rancid very easily. They're packed together very loosely, so even in the fridge, they're still liquid. And since they're oils and fats with primarily polyunsaturated fatty acids are any oil that's called cooking oil that has a high amount of polyunsaturated fatty acids, like whether it's the main thing or just has high polyunsaturated, shouldn't be used in cooking, because when you heat up polyunsaturated fatty acids, they actually, there's nothing in there. So, so they're unstable, they're highly reactive, and when they're a high amount of them should never be used in cooking, even though you see the company saying, fried in sunflower oil. Yeah, man, don't buy that shit, alright. Because when, there's something about, I don't remember, I have to fucking read this. There's something like chemical shit that they're go rancid very easily. When you heat them up to high temperatures, they contain they get free radicals, which are basically loose electrons, cells with loose electrons. Whatever. Anyway, they're like atoms with that don't have electrons, and the electrons are loose, just attacking your cells, so they kill you or whatever. They cause cancer as well. So you don't heat up. Well, don't get the polyunsaturated oils anyway, but don't heat them up either, because that's even worse. So, in general, animal fats like lard, butter, tallow contain around 50% saturated fat. It can be a little bit more, it can be a little bit less, or whatever, but generally they're around 50% saturated fat. Vegetable oils from northern climates contain an abundance of polyunsaturated oils, fatty acids, sorry. And okay, Oh my god. Okay, so coconut oil is a tropical oil, and since it's down in the tropics, it's actually like liquid there. And but up here, like in the north, in the northern, wherever, the northern climates, there's much, it's much more like, it's more like semi-solid, or solid, because it's saturated fat in this type of climate. So saturated fat down in the tropics is liquid, like that's, coconut oil is liquid down there, but for us here, it's not. Anyway, I had a story, that's why I was laughing. I had a story, where, well, it's not really that funny, but I don't know. Okay, so coconut oil is an interesting one, because it was, at the time I was writing the script, it had been yesterday, but that was like 2 weeks ago. And in the, like, it was in the morning, I was putting some coconut oil on the pan for my eggs, because I used to use coconut oil, and that now I use like lard and tallow, but I used to use coconut oil to fry, like cook my shit, and I scooped it, and I tried to scoop it. I was like scooping it, just like not looking at it, and then I pick up the spoon and there's nothing on it, and I literally, it's like, I try to scoop it again, and it just all, like, falls off the spoon like it's water. It just fall, like, when I scoop it, it just, like, goes off the spoon like it's literally, like, just water, like it's liquid. That's how hot it was. It was so, I swear, it was so hot in there. It was hot. But then, like, 4 hours later, when I went to make my lunch, I tried to scoop some coconut oil, and it was like ice, bro. I had to like fight that shit to get out of it. I was like, bro, it was like hard as a rock. It was hard as like ice, bro. I swear to God, it's fucking, like, coconut oil's melting point is 75 degrees Fahrenheit, so it had been, like, really hot, and then we put the AC on, and the coconut oil is then rock hard, and it's, like, liquid. So it's, like, up and down, and it's constantly, like, it's kind of annoying, so. Because then sometimes I just waste a dish by getting a spoon and trying to scoop the coconut oil, and it's, like, it's useless, because it just falls off the spoon, and I could have just poured it anyway. So I just waste the dish, because you never know what it's, like, you never know when it's freaking, you never know when it's liquid or not. You have to, like, put it, but then you don't know, like, there's, like, some little coconut bits in the bottom that you want to get, but then they just go out and you're like, fuck, I wasted it. So it's just annoying sometimes. You never know whether you should pour it or what, so it's funny. And yeah, this is just something funny to look out for if you want to start using coconut oil, which I would recommend, but I'd recommend using animal fat, because it's just more animals and it's more synergenic, or whatever the fuck that means. Things like olive oil and avocado oil, like the monounsaturated oils, these are products of temperate climates, like, because they're liquid at room temperature, or in their natural climates, but thickened when put in the fridge, like, in higher climates, they would be thicker. So all the types of oils are liquid at their natural climate, but in certain regions they may be harder or more liquid. That's pretty interesting. I found this thing where saturated fats. So I'd have to like draw it out. Anyway, so tropical oils are grown like near the equator, right? Then if you go a certain amount up, all of a sudden it's hard. And then this like thing for saturated fats, like coconut oil, like tropical oils, then for monounsaturated oils like avocado oil, olive oil, they're grown in temperate climates, which is still a little below my climate. This moves up, so this is the fridge. This is the climate where it's liquid at. Where I am, I'm like in the middle, so it's still liquid at room temperature, but then when I put it in the fridge, it's like up here, right? 40 degrees. And then, bro, my eye's itching, Jesus Christ. And then, for polyunsaturated oils, this moves up. So here, this is liquid, like fully liquid at my climate. And then, if you put it in the fridge, it goes up here, but it's still liquid, right? This is the solid point. And then this is the freezer. So it's like, I don't know, I just found that interesting. It's like, this keeps moving up, like, with the saturatedness. So, yeah. Anyway, coconut oil, if you go that certain amount of, like, temperature below its common climate, which is like a normal autumn or spring at my climate where I live, it hardens. So that's another pretty interesting, just a pretty interesting detail. Fatty acids are also, they're not only classified by their saturatedness, but by the length of their carbon chain. So short chain fatty acids have 4 to 6 carbon atoms in their chain. These fats are always saturated. 4-carbon butyric acid is mostly found in butterfat from cows. 6-carbon capric acid is mostly found in butterfat from goats. These fatty acids have antimicrobial properties, meaning they protect us from viruses, yeast, pathogenic bacteria in the gut. And these fatty acids are absorbed quick for energy, meaning they're less likely to cause weight gain than the longer chain, more unsaturated fatty acids. So they also contribute to the health of the immune system. Medium-chain fatty acids have 8 to 12 carbon atoms and are found mostly in butterfat and tropical oils, like coconut oil and palm oil. These have similar, or basically just the same effect as short-chain fatty acids. They're basically just the same. They just have more carbons. They're not any worse. They're just basically just the same. Long-chain fatty acids from 14 to 18 carbon atoms can be saturated. It can be saturated mono or polyunsaturated, so it can be any. Stearic acid has 18 carbons, is saturated and found mostly in beef and mutton tallows. Oleic acid is also 18 carbons, is monounsaturated, chief component of olive oil. Palmitoleic acid is also monounsaturated, but has 16 carbons. It has strong antimicrobial properties, but it's surprisingly exclusively in animal fats. It's monounsaturated, but it's found exclusively in animal fats. And both the essential fatty acids are 18 carbons. Another important one, gamma-linoleic acid, which has 18 carbons and 3 double bonds. A healthy body can make out of omega-6 linoleic acid. GLA is used in the production of substances called prostaglandins. Don't ask me. They're like localized tissue hormones that regulate many processes at the cellular level. They just do a lot of shit in your body that's good. That's the way I think about it. Very, very long chain fatty acids have 20 to 24 carbons. They tend to be highly unsaturated with 4 to 6 double bonds. Some people can make these from essential fatty acids, but other people, particularly people with ancestors that ate a lot of fish, lack enzymes to produce these elongated fatty acids. So these acids come from organ meats, egg yolks, butter, and fish oils, hence why all the omega-3 fish oil supplements say on the back label 360 milligrams EPA, 360 milligrams DHA, because those are the ones found in fish oils. Those are the omega-3s in fish oils. The most important very long chains are DGLA, AA, EPA, DHA. All of these except DHA are used in the production of these prostaglandins, and the things, and AA and DHA are important for the function of the nervous system. Bro, I keep having to read this script. Jesus Christ, I cannot remember shit. So many politically correct nutrition. People, say you should eat more polyunsaturated fats and don't eat any saturated fat because it causes heart disease and cancer. When literally the opposite is true. Like polyunsaturated cause cancer. People only used to eat tallows, butter, lard, coconut oil, and a little bit of olive oil. The research shows that only 2.5% of your calories should come from omega-6s and 1.5 from omega-3s. So the only intake of polyunsaturated fatty acids should be from the small amount found in, legumes, grains, nuts, vegetables, fish, olive oil, and animal fats. Polyunsaturated fatty acids are actually the ones that cause heart disease, cancer, and all the other bullshit. Metabolic syndrome, all the diseases, depressed learning ability. It's the opposite of what everyone says. Polyunsaturated oils do the same thing that everyone said saturated fats are bad for. So it's literally the opposite of what everyone says. It's literally the opposite. The problem with polyunsaturates, other than the fact that they lower your testosterone, is that, one, when they get cooked too hot, they develop free radicals, which essentially try to attack and destroy your cells. So free radicals equals bad. But two, the common imbalance of omega-3 and omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids interferes with the production of some shit, and basically I don't have to explain all this. Causes a whole bunch of diseases and problems and shit. The commercial seed oils and corn oils and soybean oils and all these bullshit oils have very large amounts of omega-6 and very small amounts of omega-3. Also, when chickens are free-range and allowed to feed on insects and green plants, their eggs have around a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6 and omega-3. But when they're fed on grain and cottonseed meal, all the commercial eggs that don't say free-range, they have as much to up to 19 times more omega-6 than 3. So it's like, you get the free-range one. I mean, it's not like I bet you're like, oh, this one costs less, and it doesn't really matter. It does actually matter. The eggs that are free range are a lot healthier, so buy those ones. Saturated fats, which have been demonized for so long. Man, I was just visualizing in my mind about how, dude, the amount of people that have believed this message that saturated fats are bad for you and they cause cancer and heart disease and all this fucking retarded ass shit. It just made me think, bro, the amount of people that are gonna suffer because these stupid ass freaking political retards say, oh, you should eat canola oil. You shouldn't eat freaking butter. It's like, how fucking stupid can you be? I mean, it's like, they're not, the saturated fats are not the cause of the amount of fucking people that are just gonna suffer because they listen to this dumbass profitable advice. They're not the cause of all the saturated fats and cholesterol are not the cause of all these modern diseases. It's saturated fats actually have a really important bodily role and function. And the clog shit, the actual like plaque, the clog shit in the arteries was found to be mostly polyunsaturated. What do you mean saturated? Like, shut the fuck up. But what about cholesterol? Well, again, like saturated fats, cholesterol has been demonized for the past decades because it clogs your arteries and causes heart disease and heart attack. Well, cholesterol is what gives our cell walls stability and actually like maybe more stable and structured. That's why when you start consuming more polyunsaturated oils, your serum cholesterol temporarily goes down because it goes over to trying to like strengthen your cell walls. So it seems like your blood cholesterol just went down, but then it just that's temporary because then it just goes way up when you consume more polyunsaturated oils. So that's why it seems like it goes down when you consume more unsaturated fats. Anyway, it does the opposite, the exact opposite of what everyone says it does. When there's excess polyunsaturated oils in our diet, our cell membrane walls become flabby because of how unstable they are. And when this happens, the body basically sends over cholesterol to make the cell walls more stable and structured. That's when you start. That's why when you start consuming more polyunsaturated oils, your serum cholesterol temporarily goes down, and because it's being temporarily used to help your ass, because it's literally being temporary. Like, it's just, they're saying, oh, you should consume more unsaturated oils because it lowers your cholesterol. Well, first of all, you're completely backwards. Second of all, bro, the reason you have lower cholesterol is because it's busy helping your ass while you're consuming the stupid shit, the polyunsaturated oils. So if you could just consume saturated fat, it doesn't do shit. Then you don't need the cholesterol to help you out because you're consuming the right thing anyway. Cholesterol does a few things as well as stabilizing cell walls. It acts like a precursor, which is like the backbone to many hormones in our body, including testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. Remember to eat your eggs. It's a precursor to vitamin D. Bile salts are made from cholesterol, so cholesterol is vital for digestion, shitting, and the assimilation of dietary fats. It's like an antioxidant. It's important for proper function of serotonin, the feel-good hormone, meaning people with low cholesterol levels have been linked with depression and suicide. Babies and children need cholesterol-rich foods for proper growth and development of their brain. So, I mean, cholesterol is not the reason for arterial plaque. Like, actually, it's been found there is very little cholesterol in the artery plaques. So, what are you going to say about that, vegan teacher? Fucking idiot. I just remember, oh, man. Oh, fuck? I remember watching that shit, like, that vegan teacher. What are you gonna say about that vegan teacher? But cholesterol and fats heated to high temperatures have been found to be damaged and access free radicals and build up artery plaque. So avoid high temperature frying and powdered milk and powdered eggs. Powdered milk is added to low-fat milks to give them volume. High serum cholesterol is just a sign that we need cholesterol to protect ourselves from high levels of altered free radical containing fats and lipids. So, I mean, poor thyroid function will often result in high cholesterol levels. This comes from a diet high in sugar or low in usable iodine. So, we don't prevent heart disease by lowering cholesterol, but by consuming a diet that provides animal foods rich in protective nutrients, by boosting thyroid function through daily use of natural sources of usable iodine. So sea salt, seaweed, fish, and, roe, fish eggs. And by avoiding micronutrient deficiencies that make cell walls more prone to ruptures and plaque, and by increasing our consumption of saturated fats. Man, Jesus Christ, my throat's dry as hell. I might have to pause the video and just record tomorrow. Jesus, I'm gonna fucking do that. Jesus, see you. What's up? I'm back the next day. Man. Okay, so, let's just get right into it. I actually forgot to finish off with something yesterday that I didn't see. So also by eliminating our consumption of refined carbs, like sugar and white flour, oxidized cholesterol, and free radical containing vegetable oils. Guess what? There are 3 more things you have to worry about. I swear to God, every time someone says like, oh, here's another thing you have to worry about, and another thing, and another thing, and another like, bro, I'm like, come on, man. How many things are you gonna put on me and freaking Jesus Christ? Dude, I'm sorry. You just need to hear this. I mean, it's too important, alright? I'm sorry, but it's too important. So, the extraction method. So, number 1, the thing you have to worry about is the extraction method. So, the most oils, like seed oils and vegetable oils and all that bullshit, most of them are extracted by the following process. Heating the oil-bearing product, like heating the seed or whatever the hell it is, to 230 degrees Fahrenheit, squeezing them at pressures from 10 to 20 tons per inch. These oils are also exposed to damaging latent oxygen, finally to get the last 10% of oil out of the seeds. They put chemical solvents, usually hexane, to extract polyunsaturated oil that's unstable, which you're going to heat up on the pan and give it more free radicals anyway. Oh, don't worry, they'll just boil it away. And there's still some talk that they say they're gonna boil away the like the hexane or whatever the bullshit, like the little literal chemicals they put in there to extract it, and then they boil it, which first of all decreases the nutrient content, second of all creates free radicals, third of all is just unhealthy, like it just ruins the oil. Fourth of all, the hexane's still in there. And fifth of all, you're heating it to high temperatures again. It's like, bro. Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll just boil it. Don't worry, I'll just boil it. Oh man, freaking. I mean, it gives them a lot of free radicals. It literally destroys the antioxidant vitamin D, trying to protect you from those exact things. So, just don't buy seed oils and refined vegetable oils if you didn't already get the point. Only buy oils in which the label says like cold pressed or expeller pressed or expeller expressed or something like that. Just don't buy seed oils and vegetable oils in general, like soybean oil and corn oil and shit, and rice bran oil anyway. But especially if you absolutely have to use those, then just try and get the expeller pressed or the cold pressed or whatever. Second thing to worry about, hydrogenation. This is a process that turns polyunsaturates that are normally liquid at room temperature into fats that are solid at room temperature. Margarine and shortening. Gosh, it's disgusting. They take cheap oils like soybean, canola, cottonseed corn oil, which are already rancid from the extraction process. After hearing this, you'll never even want to look at shortening or margarine ever again because it'll look fucking disgusting. So, this is the process they do this is the hydrogenation process that you're eating margarine with. So they mix the oils with some tiny metal particles, usually nickel oxide, and then it's subjected to high temperature hydrogen gas in a high pressure reactor. Next, soap-like emulsifiers and starch are squeezed into the mixture for consistency. The oil is then subjected to high temperatures again when it's steam cleaned, which removes its unpleasant odor. Margarine's natural color, an unappetizing gray, is removed by bleach. Then dyes and strong flavors must be added to make it resemble butter. Finally, the mixture is compressed and packaged in blocks and put in plastic tubes, and then not only sold as food, but as health food. Raise your hand if you want to ever eat shortening again. That's fucking disgusting. Yeah, that's what I thought. The way this works is that actually in double bonds, the two hydrogen atoms at the double bond, since they're on the same side. So if you visualize a unsaturated fatty acid, it has the glycerol molecule. Then it has the 3 carbon chains with the hydrogens all attached to them, so there's the carbon chain basically looks like this. This is a line, just like a line of carbon atoms, and then above it there's hydrogen atoms below it, and then like a hydrogen at the end. Basically, in unsaturated, in the bends, the kinks in the chain, the 2 of these hydrogen atoms are missing, but these 2 hydrogen atoms are on the same side. So when it's called, this is called a cis bond, which is most found in nature. It's when the 2 hydrogen atoms are on the same side, and that's why it bends, because it's unstable like this. There's no hydrogen atoms on this side, you take those away, so it's unstable and it bends. That's why it bends. But with with trans fats and hydrogenation, the process is that they put one of these thingies on the other side. They put one of the hydrogen atoms on the other side. So there's one missing on this side, but then there's one missing on the bottom as well. So basically, it just straightens it because it's balanced now, and it your body. There are few of them found in nature, and the ones found in nature are actually healthy, but that's besides the point. The trans fats, like margarine shortening and all that, the hydrogenation process, you can't digest. You literally can't break down the trans bond. So it's the cis bond, you can break down that easily. But the trans bond, the unnatural trans bond, your body is not built to break down, so it literally just destroys your system, and your body incorporates it into your cells, your cell membranes and stuff, and it just fucks with your whole system. So it's like so all I'm gonna say is, in this book there's a whole paragraph on the side effects of trans fats, and just trust me. I didn't want to put that and like write that whole shit out. There's like a whole paragraph on all the effects of trans fats. Just trust me. Don't eat trans fats. All right. Yeah, which you probably didn't need me to tell you after explaining its process of being made. At the time of this book, trans fats actually weren't banned. So okay, trans fats are actually banned in the U.S. right now. I think they're banned in like 2020 or something. But trans fats are banned, so they still do hydrogenation, except they fully hydrogenate it, which just makes it saturated, which still isn't healthy. But then also they can sneak in some partially hydrogenated stuff in things. They can make it less than 0.5 grams, and the FDA allows that. Like, so it can add up as well if you like eat a whole chip bag, and the serving size is 1 chip, and it has like 0.4 grams of trans fat. If you eat that whole bag, you're eating like 20 grams of trans fats. So like so just watch out for that. Well, you make sure you look at the freaking ingredient list. That's the most important thing. Just see, like, if you see hydrogenated, just like pump that across the room, like. So the final thing to worry about is homogenization. Homogenization is a process where the nearby fat particles of cream are strained through tiny holes under great pressure. So the resulting fat particles are so small that they stay in suspension rather than, rise to the top of the milk like the cream. If you get non-homogenized milk, you'll see there's like a thick layer of cream on top, and you have to pour it out. Like when you first, it's so annoying. When you first pour it out, there's even if you shake it and mix it around a ton, and it doesn't matter. Like if you the first time you pour non-homogenized milk, even if you did a bunch of shit to it, there's there's a bunch of cream chunks in there, and then you just get the water left over. So it's kind of, but who wants to, let me just explain it, alright? This makes the fat and cholesterol more susceptible to rancidity and oxidization. Some research indicates that homogenized fats may contribute to heart disease. So the attack on saturated fats is very suspicious. And in fact, the main component of beef tallow is stearic acid, which actually lowers cholesterol. It's not saturated fats that cause high cholesterol. I mean, I don't know why the fuck. It's hydrogenated trans fats that cause chronic cholesterol issues and heart disease. And butter has been demonized for so long, but it actually contains a bunch of different nutrients. So the book literally dedicates 2 entire pages for all the nutrients, so I'll just list them out and give a short summary. All the nutrients in butter. Number 1, fat-soluble vitamins. Butter is the best source of these vitamins in the West, and these vitamins are vital for growth, development, bone health, and a bunch of other uses. And these vitamins are A, D, K, and E. Number 2, the Wolven factor. I don't know. It's called the anti-stiffness factor, and prevents degenerative arthritis and a couple other things prevents hardening of the arteries and cataracts and calcification. I don't know what this stuff is. I just wrote it down because it said it in the book. Of the calcification of the pineal gland. I don't know. This Wolfson factor is only present in raw butter. Raw butter, whole milk, and cream. So only like raw. So it has to be raw, or else pasteurization takes this out. Number 3, the price factor, or activator X. Again, I don't know. I never knew this stuff existed. Activator X is a catalyst that is important for utilizing important minerals. So this disappears when cows are fed cottonseed meal. Cottonseed meal, soy-based protein feed. It's like, bro, and even hay on it. Like even hay, when cows eat like anything other than grass most of their life, the activator X is Number 4, arachidonic acid. 20 carbon. It's a 20 carbon polyunsaturated, only found in small amounts in animal fat. Whatever. It plays a role in the function of the brain and is a precursor to important prostaglandins. Some dietary gurus say arachidonic acid is bad because it contributes to the production of bad prostaglandins. But it actually contributes for the ones that counteract inflammation, so which is why they thought it was bad prostaglandins. That's what the bad prostaglandins do. They cause inflammation, but it actually contains the ones that counteract inflammation, so just shut the fuck up. Number 5, short and medium chain fatty acids. Butter contains only 12 to 15% short and medium chain fatty acids, which all have different uses, including quick energy, a small amount of lauric acid, which is the main component of coconut oil, and butyric acid is specific to butter mainly. It's only in butter. Number 6, omega-3 and 6 essential fatty acids. These occur in small but equal amounts in butter, which prevents any kinds of problems associated with overconsumption of omega-6. Number 7, conjugated linoleic acid. CLA is a type of rearranged linoleic acid, and it has, hold up. Don't judge that. These occur, omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids. These occur in small but equal amounts in butter. No, I was talking about conjugated linoleic acid. Conjugated CLA is a type of rearranged linoleic acid and has strong anti-cancer properties, encourages the buildup of muscle, and prevents weight gain. So, eat your conjugated linoleic acid. Lecithin. So, lecithin assists in the proper assimilation and metabolization of cholesterol and other lipid-like things. Number 9, cholesterol. Mother's milk is high in cholesterol because it's essential for normal growth and development, but cholesterol is also important for producing a wide variety of steroids that protect against cancer, heart disease, and mental illness, and fertility and everything. So cholesterol is very important, actually. Number 10, glycosphingolipids. Please don't ask me. This type of fat protects against gastrointestinal infections, especially in the very young and elderly. That's why the rate of diarrhea in children was 3 to 5 times higher in the ones that drink skimmed milk instead of whole. Number 11, trace minerals. Butter contains some trace minerals like manganese, zinc, chromium, and iodine, which all have their own uses, and butter is also rich in the antioxidant selenium, which is also a trace mineral. Animal fats have been also demonized because they contain fat-soluble toxins, but guess what, buddy? There's 10 applications of pesticides in your non-organic cabbage, so shut the fuck up. Right, so there's also water-soluble toxins as well, and pesticides and everything. The author, Sally Fallon, of this book, Sally Fallon. If you're blind. Yeah. The author of this book, Sally Fallon, lists out the common fats and oils and gives her opinion based on facts. What is good and what isn't. So she starts with animal fats. It's like, let's just list this out. Goose and duck fat is about 35% saturated, 52% monounsaturated, 13% polyunsaturated. The proportion of omega-6 and 3 depends on what the bird ate, but generally a highly stable and good fat to use. Chicken fat is about 31% saturated, 49% monounsaturated, and 20% polyunsaturated, which most of is omega-6, but can raise the omega-3 by letting them free range and feed on insects and green plants and stuff, but not as good as goose and duck fat. Lard or pork fat is about 40% saturated, 48% monounsaturated, and 12% polyunsaturated. Like birds, it depends on what the pig eats, but to see how much. It depends on what the pig eats to see how much, omega-6 and omega-3 there is in it. But lard is highly stable fat that was widely used at the turn of the century. So I use lard or tallow or coconut. Well, mostly lard or tallow when I'm cooking. So there you go. Beef and mutton tallows. Beef and mutton tallows are 50 to 55% saturated, about 40% monounsaturated, and contains very small amounts of polyunsaturates, usually less than 3%. So, suet, which is from the cavity of the animal, is 70 to 80% saturated. Both of these are very stable fats and good for frying. Olive oil contains 75% oleic acid, which is monounsaturated, 13% saturated, and 10% omega-6, 2% omega-3. It's good for salads and moderate temperature cooking. It should be cloudy and golden yellow color, meaning it's not filtered and is from fully ripe olives, and the good stuff is a very good fat. But don't overdo it, because the longer chain fatty acids in olive oil can cause weight gain easier than animal fats with shorter chain fatty acids, so just be aware of that. Peanut oil has 48% oleic acid, 18% saturated fat, and 34% omega-6. So it should not be used very much, only with an occasional, maybe stir fry or something, but should be strictly limited to, because of its high omega-6. Sesame seed oil, has 42% oleic acid, 15% saturated fat, and 43% omega-6, and is very similar to peanut oil, and has great antioxidants, but should be strictly limited because of its high omega-6 and, just seed oils. Safflower, corn, soybean, sunflower, and cottonseed oils all contain over 50% omega-6, except for soybean oil. So they only have minimal amounts of omega-3. Safflower oil containing over 80% omega-6. I don't want to hear it. These oils fucking suck. First of all, they have way too much omega-6, and two, they're horrible for your reproductive and endocrine health. So if you want to have children or high testosterone, don't eat these. And the high oleic versions aren't good either, so just avoid these altogether. It doesn't fucking, like, just avoid these altogether. Canola oil contains 5% saturated fat, 57% oleic acid, 23% omega-6, and 10 to 15% omega-3. Canola oil, despite its high oleic acid, also fucking sucks. It goes rancid very easily, and can transform into trans fats during the deodorizing process. It's highly heated, lowers your testosterone and fertility. Throw away your canola oil right now. Also, rapeseed oil is the same thing, just different name. Flaxseed oil is 9% saturated, 18% oleic acid, 16% omega-6, and 57% omega-3. Since the omega-6 to omega-3 imbalance is so common, it's seen as like a health food, which is true for some of the slightly uneducated. But the book says flaxseed oil should only be consumed in high moderation, but I think otherwise. I think you shouldn't at all, because there's actually you see, flax seeds are very high in these things called lignans, which basically, once you consume them, they act as estrogen in your body. So if you're concerned about having high estrogen, which you should if you're watching this, you just don't eat anything with flaxseed in the name. Tropical oils are much more saturated than other vegetable oils. Palm oil is about 50% saturated, 41% oleic acid, and 9% linoleic acid. Coconut oil is 92% saturated. Granting it the number one spot as the highest saturation of any of the common fats. Its main fatty acid of interest is lauric acid, found in high quantities in both mother's milk and coconut oil. This fatty acid has strong antifungal properties and antimicrobial and antifungal properties, which is what protects the tropical regions from all the fungus and bacteria in their food supply. So coconut oil, yeah. This as third world countries in the tropical regions have started to consume more polyunsaturated oils, immune diseases and intestinal disorders has gone up. So it's palm kernel oil is also high in lauric acid. Both coconut and palm kernel oil are high in lauric acid, making them a good ingredient in baby formula. Palm kernel oil is also high. As the prevalence of commercial vegetable and seed oils gone up, so have all the diseases and obesity and and all the bullshit. It's clearly not saturated fats that's the problem. As a summary, we should be having lots of animal fat, duck, goose, any tallow or lard, definitely butter fat, but also lots of eggs, tropical oils, olive oil, although don't cook in it. And in moderation, possibly some avocado oil. Oh, that's kind of pushing it. Man, it's freaking. That was a freaking entire chapter. That's like the longest chapter. So that was freaking long. But don't worry, we have 9 more to go. No, I'm joking. That fat chapter was like a third of the entire part of the book that isn't the cookbook. So we're probably about a third of it through already, in my guess. All plants produce carbohydrates, starch, and sugar. And their leaves through photosynthesis. He said it. Sugar comes in many forms. Sucrose, or common table sugar, which is the primary sugar in sugarcane and beet sugar. Sucrose is a disaccharide that when digested is broken down into glucose and fructose. Basically, glucose is the primary sugar in the blood, and also it's the primary sugar in honey and corn. Normal corn syrup. Glucose is actually needed because blood sugar, because it's blood sugar, and it gives you energy, and it's also a monosaccharide. So fructose is the primary sugar in fruit and high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is half fructose, half glucose, because they put it in like artificially in there, so it's like. Other common disaccharides are maltose and lactose. Any chemical term that ends in OSE, like os, is most likely a sugar, except for sucralose, which is an artificial sucrose, which is unhealthy as well. In a sense, your body needs sugar. Technically not, but it needs glucose for energy and blood sugar and a bunch of other shit. But you don't really need it from dietary intake. So, although complex carbohydrates are healthy most of the time, they can be refined, and the refining process of grains and other complex carbs can remove their micronutrients and fiber and enzymes and different things. So, and also during refining process, since the B vitamins are removed, the breakdown of carbs can't take place, because that's the primary use of B vitamins, is to break down carbs. It's the refined carbs that are bad for you. Not quite complex carbs, although there are some things we have to talk about that may make complex carb sources actually bad. That isn't refining. So essentially, Sally, the author, explains 5 million reasons sugar is bad, and then another few reasons why, white flour is bad. So basically, it's the sugar, refined grains like, white flour, and rancid and hydrogenated vegetable oils that are BS. And basically, the food industry and the USDA and whatever the fuck else political nutrition people told the world that all calories are the same, so they could profit and use white flour, refined sugar, and vegetable oils because it's profitable. Actually, let me just list all the things sugar does to get you off your ass. Heart disease, kidney disease, liver disease, shortened lifespan, increased desire for caffeine and tobacco, atherosclerosis, hyperactivity, behavior problems, tooth decay, lack of concentration, violent tendencies, cancer. Like, are you seriously eating sugar and white flour knowing they cause heart disease, kidney, liver disease, addiction, tooth decay, ugly, cancer, like breast? Seriously, you're gonna cope and say, oh, it's just one time, it's your third milkshake, like, when it's your third milkshake, yeah, it's just one time. If you want sweetness, just eat fruit. Make your own food at home using like natural sweeteners like honey, maple syrup, monk fruit extract. Also, by the way, honey is actually really healthy, so don't be afraid of honey. Although there is something I want to say. Although fruit is very healthy, when the juice is extracted, and even if they don't add any sugar to it, it's unhealthy. This is because you aren't receiving any like fiber or many nutrients that slow down the absorption of the sugar and fructose into your bloodstream. So drinking an 8-ounce glass of fruit juice is almost like drinking an 8-ounce can of soda. So don't eat rice cakes or breakfast cereal as well, because during their process they're put at high heat and pressure to produce puffed wheat, which are actually quite toxic. There's one last thing we need to talk about in this chapter, and these are anti-nutrients. Anti-nutrients are these things mostly in carbohydrate foods that can worsen the absorption of some vitamins and minerals and do some other things that aren't very good. So fruits and veggies rarely have many anti-nutrients. No, they do. I don't think fruit does, but I think most vegetables do actually have anti-nutrients. Fruits are good fresh. You should cook most veggies though. But grains, even whole grains, contain phytates, specifically phytic acid. Legumes have lectins, and some other ones. So yes, whole grains are healthy-ish, but only if they're like sprouted, and it's better if they're soaked. And it's even better if they're fermented, like in sourdough, like true sourdough bread. So if you're gonna eat pasta, which you probably shouldn't, it takes like 2 hours to make a whole store-bought package. Plus you can add eggs, so it tastes 5 times better. So just like if you're gonna eat pasta, which you probably shouldn't eat very much, make it at home. Try and source yourself with sprouted oats for oatmeal and soak them before for a few hours. Always soak your legumes. Just make sure you get rid of any anti-nutrients. And try your best to get rice that was sprouted and soak them before cooking for a couple hours. As a summary of this chapter, try your best to get rice. Try your best to only eat grains that are whole, sprouted, soaked or fermented, legumes that are soaked before cooking, fruits and veggies that are nice and fresh, and limit, if not cut out, the use of refined sugar, refined grains, in the form of white flour, and any fruit juice with added sugar or not. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I shouldn't say any fruit juice, because lime and lemon juice actually, are good, but let me just finish this up, alright? Lemon and lime juice, not lemonade and limeade, because that has added sugar if you buy it. But if you fresh squeeze some lemons or limes, the lemons have a little less sugar, but the limes have significantly more fiber. The juice, I mean. So if you just have some lemon or lime juice mixed with water and honey or something, that would actually work, because like the low sugar content and the lime juice actually retains significant fiber after juicing, because of the pulp, it stays in there. At least from what I found on like Google. But any other fruit juice, just don't drink it, because it's like sugar water. Yeah, so that's done.